Thanks for joining us in Power Lunch. This is Bloomberg Quint and I'm Ira Dugal. Let's get you the headlines. Indian markets trade in a narrow range amid mixed global cues. European markets open mixed as investors sift through fresh Brexit uncertainties. Theresa May's Brexit deal is all but dead after a landslide defeat in the UK Parliament. May faces a vote of no confidence later today. Jet Airways lenders will meet today to discuss a resolution plan prepared by lead lender State Bank of India. Ahead of that, it looks like a forensic audit, which was narrow in its scope, has cleared the road for a restructuring plan. Zee is among the top Nifty gainers after the company's profit rose the most in 5 quarters. All right, all of that coming up. Let's first take a look at how markets are faring. Yatin is here with the afternoon check. Yatin.
Afternoon, Ira, and if you look at the markets, 30 points up on the Nifty. We are above that 10,900 mark. However, if you look at the advance decline ratio, is almost 1:1, so the market breadth really is quite mixed at this point in time. On the gaining side, we have some NBFCs which are gaining. So Indiabulls Housing Finance is up 3%. Piramal Enterprise is up, with similar gains. Also, in the Nifty gainers, we have Grasim, IndusInd Bank, and Wipro doing well. So Wipro, after they announced the proposal to have a bonus issue, second day in a row, the stock is gaining quite good, in terms of the future and option market, 2% up for that one. Ultratech Cement also doing well, at almost the 52-week lows. So the bounce back has been quite sharp for Ultratech Cement. On the losing side, we have stocks like United Phosphorus, JSW Steel, Tech Mahindra, Bajaj Finance. So all of these stocks have been cooling off after the initial gains that they made in the start of the week. So almost percent and a half cut coming in. Jet Airways, that is also one stock which is in focus. And after the move that we saw yesterday, we have seen some profit taking which is happening at higher levels, 7% down for Jet Airways. And of course, Zee, that stock is in focus as it opened quite strong, but it's off the day's high, almost trading at the day's low, but 1% higher after the reported a strong set of third quarter earnings.
All right, and thanks so much for that. The big story playing out domestically is what happens to Jet Airways. A bunch of developments there. Firstly, lenders will be meeting today to discuss a resolution plan. Sources have told Bloomberg Quint ahead of that that a plan could involve Etihad taking further equity. But let me go across to Vishwanath Nair for the details that he's picked up from his sources. Vishwanath.
Right, Ira. So, as you said, yes, there is a resolution plan that is on the table. State Bank of India has circulated it to all the lenders involved. Today, when they meet later in the day, the lenders are going to flesh it out a little bit, try and figure out some of the more minute details. For example, Etihad cannot take over majority equity in the company because the FDI rules do not allow that. And therefore, some of these issues, plus, of course, it seems there are news reports saying that Etihad has put up certain conditions to SBI before buying that equity. So, a whole host of issues to be discussed at that meeting that is going to take place. But one clear message that the lenders have sent out is that they want promoter Naresh Goyal to step down from his majority equity position and probably leave the board. So that is going to be something that will be decided later today.
Okay. A couple of follow-up questions. One, of course, there is also an interim financing request which will be discussed today or post today's meeting.
So 1,500 crore is what Jet Airways had asked the lenders the last time around. But at that time, the bank said that they are not going to approve it unless there is a proper restructuring plan in place and the equity situation is resolved. Hopefully, in today's meeting, when that issue is raised and discussed, there will be some debate on the interim financing as well, which the company needs because of vendors and employees have not been paid for the last few months.
Okay. The other interesting part, and this is from the banking side, while of course it is in the interest of Jet Airways to get this restructuring plan done, it is also in the interest of bankers. And the manner in which they have paved the road for this maybe leaves some questions open?
Certainly, because they asked, SBI being the lead lender, SBI had asked EY to conduct a forensic audit of Jet Airways. This was primarily something that lenders do just so that they can cover their exposure and ensure that no questions are raised about the restructuring plan later. But what we pick up from our sources is that the forensic audit itself was given a very limited scope. So, for example, the auditor is only allowed to look at 3 broad areas, one being revenue billing, second being cost, which is exempt from the sales and distribution analysis, and also look at any of the related party transactions that are already disclosed in the books. So essentially, this is a narrow audit in that sense. Typically, when a forensic audit happens, it lasts for about 3 months, and it looks at a whole host of issues, including end-user funds, related party transactions which are not necessarily disclosed in the books, all of these items. This particular audit did not look at those things, probably because there's a positive time. They need to resolve this within 180 days unless except that the case is likely to go into insolvency if there is no resolution plan at the end of the 6-month period. But that's probably why the lenders are seeking a smaller forensic audit. But does leave questions remain. It's necessary to note that this audit did not look at everything on Jet Airways' book, and therefore giving a clean sheet is probably something that needs to be questioned a little bit.
Okay, Vishna, thanks so much for that. Those are the news developments that are coming through. But what is the bigger picture behind this? Even if lenders do manage to bring in additional equity contribution from Etihad, is that going to be enough for Jet? How much money does Jet actually need? Samit Sarkar is here with all the numbers behind the deal. Samit.
So if you see, various media reports have suggested that Etihad might invest in Jet Airways and increase its stake to 49%. That is the maximum limit allowed from the current 24%. Now, due to regulation cap of this 49%, Jet can only issue 5.6 crore equity shares to Etihad. So if it issues these many shares to Etihad, then the promoter, that is Naresh Goyal's stake in Jet Airways, would come down to close to 34% from current 51%, and Etihad's will increase to 49%, while that of remaining public shareholders will come down to 17% from 25%. So approximately a 33% equity dilution will happen from this issue. Now, Jet also has the option to issue non-convertible debentures or preference shares to Etihad, but the same would give any voting rights to Etihad. So this option is less likely to happen, because if Etihad is looking to pump in money for the second time in Jet Airways, they would definitely want voting rights from for Jet Airways. But remember, earlier when Jet had issued these NCDs worth around 700 crore rupees, Etihad was the only subscriber for this NCD. So this option is also open for Jet Airways. Now, at present, Jet needs at least 1700 crore rupees, because that is the amount that it needs to pay the lenders by the end of financial year 2019. So that is a bare minimum that it needs to raise from Etihad. Now, given the current market price, if you see the Jet, if Jet raises around 1700 crore rupees from Etihad, it has to be at a price of close to 302.5 rupees per share. That is a premium of close to 3% to yesterday's closing price. Now, but if Jet needs more amount, because that is also possible, because if you remember, the company was finding it difficult to pay off its operational creditors and its employees. So Etihad might have to infuse funds at a premium for Jet Airways, and because of this cap of around 49%, this fund infusion has to be at a premium, because there's a limit to the number of shares that Jet can issue to Etihad. Now, there's no doubt that this fund infusion will improve Jet's balance sheet somewhat. It will not only lower its debt but also reduce its negative net worth that the company still has. But more importantly, this fund infusion will improve Jet's credit rating, which in turn could lower its interest cost, and bankers could also extend the borrowing limit for Jet Airways if the credit rating improves post Etihad's fund infusion. Also, if it opposes this fund infusion, Etihad will become the majority stakeholder in the company, which means that Jet's rating could be revised to that of Etihad's A rating from the current default rating that Jet Airways has.
All right, Samit, thanks so much for all those details. Do go on to Bloomberg Quint. We've got all of those stories on the Jet Airways deal covered here. There's a big business restructuring on the cards at KPIT Technologies. The software company will merge with group entity Birlasoft, only to split later. The rationale to separate IT services and automobile engineering into different units. Agam Vakil is joining us with the details. Agam.
Right. So, well, the objective of this restructuring is to eventually have two companies at the end of the day. And these two companies are going to be Birlasoft, which is going to be the first entity which will be dealing with your business services, information technology. And your second company will be KPIT Technologies, which will eventually serve the automotives, business as well as mobility solutions. Now, how does the company go about this restructuring? Firstly, the first step, of course, will be that KPIT Technologies gets merged with Birlasoft, and this merged entity will then spin out the engineering business. So at this point, we have two entities. One is Birlasoft, Soft, which will deal with the IT services solutions, and the second business will be technology services. And eventually, the IT business will be renamed to around Birla Soft, and that the engineering services business will be renamed as KPIT Technologies. This is how it pans out. And in terms of your timelines, the first and foremost, first step will be to allot shares of the engineering company, and the listing of this engineering company will take place in March. And this is how we are roughly looking at the restructuring to pan out over the next couple of months.
All right, Agam, thanks so much for that. Growth across all segments helped Zee Entertainment report a 90% profit jump in the December quarter. That's the highest in 5 quarters. But will subscriptions suffer under the new tariff regime, and how is the response to its stake sale plans? We put those questions across to Puneet Goenka, MD and CEO of the company. Listen to what you have to say.
See, this is a big change for the industry, so there will be some disruption in the short term. But as we have seen in the past when DAS was implemented, the consumer doesn't really make the transition until the switch off really happens. And I do expect that the transition will be much faster post 1st Feb once it's implemented. And we are hopeful that we do a successful transition in as short a period as possible so that the industry overall can benefit from this new tariff order. Yes, absolutely. In fact, investment bankers were already retained when we made the announcement. The process is going well. I am pretty happy with the process. We have met prospective strategic partners, and I'm very happy with the progress. We will come back to you when we have something to report on that. Oh, it's both, and as I have said in the past also, we are open to any strategic partner, domestic or international, and we are going to engage with all of them who are interested.
India is one of the few countries allowed to import crude from Iran. Despite sanctions imposed in the US, and Indian refiners are looking to make the most of it. But the government doesn't want private companies to tap into this window. Debjit Chakravarti of Bloomberg News has more. Debjit.
India has decided not to allow its private refiners like those of Reliance Industries and Nayara Energy to share the limited quantity of Iranian crude it is getting under the US waiver from its sanctions. That's because the Indian government feels the private refiners like Reliance and Nayara are much more agile in sourcing of crude, and then there is no scarcity of crude supply in the market. So the private refiners can very well source their crude anywhere else other than Iran. And India government wants to protect the limited supply of Iranian crude only for its public sector refineries like Indian Oil, HPCL, BPCL, and MRPL. But this is because Iran is a very lucrative supplier. Its oil is much cheaper, and also there are other advantages of higher credit period and along with free shipping. So this benefit, I think the Indian government wants to retain for its own refineries and let the private refiners source from anywhere other than Iran.
The market regulator has allowed alternative investment funds to park unutilized money in some liquid assets. Sajid Mangat joins us for more. Sajid, what are they talking about, liquid funds?
That's right. Alternative investment funds, they take commitment from investors, and the money which comes in are parked in bank deposits so far. In one of the informal guidance which was sought by JM Financial, which has a category 2 fund, which is a private equity fund, they had sought clarity from the regulator with respect to whether they can invest these unutilized funds, which they haven't invested so far, in other liquid assets like liquid mutual funds, or for that matter treasury bills or CDs or CBLOs. What the regulator has clarified as part of the informal guidance is that these all alternate investment funds can park these their unutilized funds into liquid schemes, and these will be only subject to in the sense they have to be invested, and the investors have to be informed that such a fund has been done. So it is a big thing for the alternate investment fund, because nearly 24,000 crores worth of funds are lying in bank accounts or bank deposits, because they were not allowed to go and invest under the extent guideline into liquid schemes or something. So there is much better scope for higher returns coming in from these idle funds as compared to bank deposits going forward.
All right, thanks so much for that, Sajid. A group of state finance ministers has been constituted to draw up a strategy to ease taxes levied on the real estate sector. The idea was first floated in the last GST Council meet. Nikunj Johri reports on the terms of reference for the members of this panel.
The GST Council has notified formation of a ministerial panel to aid the residential segment of the real estate sector. The ministerial panel will be headed by Gujarat Deputy Chief Minister Mr. Nitin Patel, and the panel will examine whether a composition scheme needs to be introduced for the sector. Other terms of reference of the panel include analyzing the GST rate for the sector, examining whether a composition scheme or a similar scheme can be introduced for the sector, and the transition to the scheme, and also the issues that the sector is currently facing. The panel will also look into the legality of inclusion or exclusion of land under the composition scheme, since purchase or sale of land currently does not attract goods and services tax.
Crop insurance, soil health cards and direct transfers. The Modi government has launched a number of pro-farmer schemes, but has it made any difference to the village economy? Arpan Chaturvedi travelled to West Bengal to find out.
Rabindranath Tagore chose to live here and set up one of the most progressive universities of its time, the Vishwa Bharati University, a 3-hour drive from the state capital Kolkata. Shantiniketan is among the first education towns in the country. But the story is very different when one travels to some of the villages located just miles away from the town. In a state where land reform was far more successful than most other areas in India, farmers are now grappling with a unique problem. Small landholding means subsistence farming. This leaves farmers like Debabrata Manji at nature's mercy. Rainfall's been scanty this year, and farmers don't always have the money to hire pumps or buy water.
We've spoken to farmers in the nearby villages and from different economic groups, and one common problem that they face is related to irrigation. As they say, large parts of lands and farmers are still dependent on natural sources of irrigation such as rainfall and a canal nearby. And in seasons when the rainfall is not that good, they say that large parts of the land go uncultivated.
This has forced farmers and their family members to look for alternate sources of income. Take Shibani Lohar and Sheikh Mansoor Ali, for example.
রাজমিস্ত্রি কাজ করে বাইরে কাজ করে এখানে কাজ তো সবসময় হয় না মাঠে ঘাটে বাইরেই কাজে যেতে হয়
जब फसल अच्छा नहीं होता तो बाहर जाके काम करते हैं हम बाहर में लेबर का काम करते हैं ये जो हमारा शहर है बोलपुर उसमें काम करते हैं
The paddy they produce is usually sold at government-run mandis. The agents there offer the highest price, says Manji, though rising input costs leave little money in his hands.
बारिश कम होता है, कैनल में पानी कम होता है, जो हमारा इरिगेशन है कैनल में बाई इरिगेशन तो उसका आता शॉर्ट है, इस साल बहुत शॉर्ट है, यहाँ मांगता है 30 क्विंटल और लेना है तो और अच्छा है हमारा तो और है तो क्या करेंगे बैलेंस का और दूसरा का ब्लाइट उसी टाइम जो फ्लावरिंग होता है उसी टाइम ब्लाइट आता है उसी के लिए दिक्कत होता है पेस्टिसाइड डालता है हम लेकिन काम नहीं करता है इतना ब्लाइट बंगाल में होता है
Quiz him on government-sponsored schemes and he says while he's aware of facilities like Kisan Credit Card and crop insurance, he still faces problems in getting access. His grouse is the standard deduction at mandis.
तो हमारा को तो माइनस करने के लिए दिक्कत होगा ही मशीन में काटता है वो वाला वो तो मशीन काटा है उसको देखना पड़ेगा जो फ्रेश होगा तो माइनस करेगा, नहीं होगा तो नहीं माइनस करेगा। 7 किलो तो बोलता है माइनस करेंगे, तो क्या करेंगे हम?
The village headman is none the wiser.
আমাদের তো অভাবের ব্যাপার। দ্বিতীয়ত কথা হচ্ছে সরকার থেকে কোনো সাহায্য পেলে চাষবাস ক্ষেত্রে, শিক্ষা টিক্ষার দিক দিকেও কিংবা কোনো ব্যবসা বাণিজ্যের দিক দিকেও সব দিক দিকেই সুবিধা হয়, কিন্তু সেটা আমরা এখানে পাই না।
The narrative changes for wealthier farmers who have now moved on to organic farming and eco-tourism to supplement their farm income. Jayashree Singh, for example, a city dweller all her life, decided to buy a plot of land and start farming 4 years back.
Suppose whatever amount of land you are having, it's definitely not 1/10 of any of the farmers in other states like Maharashtra or Chhattisgarh. They are having big land holdings. Here's our land ceiling is very less. So it implies that you have to cultivate only one crop. Farmer is depending on that single crop. For any reason, if it fails, for weather, for some disease, something or other, farmer is in a soup. Same thing if crop has come up nicely but market is not there. For some reason the price is very low. Again farmer is suffering. But in organic farming we believe in multi-cropping. We do in small patches and different kind of, if you have visited, I have a very small farm of 1 acre, put together this or everything, but every patch you will find something different. So we are getting small quantity and some small volume of produces, but the advantage being one crop fails, other is there to support. I need not to fast. I have something to eat.
And rich farmers have money to buy equipment, which means dependency on daily wage laborers is on the decline, leaving laborers like Mansoor Ali with little work.
अब कटाई के लिए मशीन आ गया तो उसने तो ज़्यादा काट देता है कि लोगों ने वो मशीन से धान काटा लेता है, काम कम होता है हमारा। जब मशीन नहीं आया था तो महीना भर काम चलता था, कटाई मराई करने के लिए 2 महीना काम चलता था, अभी तो 10 दिन काम नहीं मिलता।
While poor rainfall and low crop yield has a direct impact on the farmers, there are also other sections of the village who see the effect of a low rainfall, poor crops, such as the daily wage laborers who do not own any land but have to go and work on these fields as well as work in the harvest season.
And the fall in their income has a direct impact on the local shopkeepers. Mansoor Ali's father runs a small tailoring shop in his village.
इसलिए कि ज़्यादा लेबर रहता है, पैसा कम है, इनकम कम होता है, इसलिए नया से ज़्यादा पुरातन काम बेसी होता है.
While farm income is good when rainfall is adequate, farmers in the region hope that the government draws up permanent solutions like irrigation and education, which will help them see through the drought years.
All right, news just coming in, slightly curious development. State Bank of India, which was the lead lender for Essar Steel, has put up their exposure, that is their loans on sale. Vishnath Nair is joining us with more details. Vishnath, what's come through?
So, Ira, what we understand from this notice that SBI put up on its website is that they're going to sell 15,431 crore worth of their exposure in Essar Steel. This is their entire exposure in the company. And they are offering it at a minimum reserve price of 9,600 odd crore. Now, according to the resolution plan that was accepted by lenders, the one that was submitted by ArcelorMittal, SBI would have recovered about 11,300 crore. This is something that they mention in the notice. And calculating about an 18% discount on the basis of a net present value, SBI is saying that the minimum reserve price should be about 9,600 crore. This is important primarily because the resolution plan is in the last final stages, right? The NCLT is going to approve or is supposed to approve this resolution plan that ArcelorMittal has submitted. And once that approval comes in, all the lenders involved will get paid out by ArcelorMittal. remember ArcelorMittal had put up a 42,000 crore bid, where Essar Steel owes its lenders about 49,000 odd crore. So it is curious in the sense that when the resolution is in the last stage, why would the lead lender in the case exit and want to sell its exposure to somebody else when the money is not even in their accounts yet? So to that effect, it is quite interesting. Also, it would be interesting to see who actually ends up buying these loans, because it's a considerable chunk of loans, and not too many ARCs or NBFCs have the wherewithal to actually purchase this amount.
And it would have to go to an ARC, right? Because none of the banks are not going to come in.
No, of course not, because typically these sales usually end up happening to ARCs, and there are probably 2 or 3 ARCs in the market who have any capacity to bid. But this is still, by all measures, a very large account, and it'll be interesting to see who ends up buying it.
All right, Vishna, thanks so much for that. That news has just come in. We will get you more details on it. In international news, UK Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit deal was rejected by the Parliament in a landslide vote. The House of Commons voted 432 to 202 against the divorce she had brokered with the European Union. Here are what she had to say after the defeat.
It is clear that the House does not support this deal, but tonight's vote tells us nothing about what it does support. Nothing about how or even if it intends to honour the decision the British people took in a referendum Parliament decided to hold. And people, particularly EU citizens who've made their home here, and UK citizens living in the EU, deserve clarity on these questions as soon as possible.
The Brexit deal may be all but dead, with the European Union saying there's no option but to renegotiate. There's no option to renegotiate. Theresa May now faces a no-confidence motion called by the opposition party. Jody Schneider of Bloomberg News joins us for more. Jody.
Path forward is the real question now. Clearly, it was a humiliating defeat for Theresa May, and the divorce agreement from the EU appears to be dead. This agreement can't get through Parliament clearly, and even small tweaks would be unlikely to go forward. So the question is, what's next? There's a lot of talk about trying to delay, buying some more time. It's only 10 weeks until that March 29th divorce date. There's going to be a no confidence vote in Theresa May in the next day. She may survive that, but then what happens then? There's talk about another referendum. But clearly in the short run, businesses want some clarity, and the thinking is to try to get some kind of delay so that that something else could occur, some other kind of agreement or some other kind of arrangement, because leaving in a no-deal Brexit, everyone agrees, would not be a good situation, particularly for the UK economy.
That's a wrap on this edition of Power Lunch. Thanks so much for watching. Lots more coming up.